All right, so hello everyone, whether you're here live or you are actually joining us online, welcome to another hot topic call. It is September 23rd, 2025. I'm Jennifer Britton and really excited to bring Flow, Flex, Scale to you as something that I hope for you as a solopreneur or a coach are going to find really, really valuable. If you haven't heard me talk about this yet, it's because it's relatively new in terms of a repackaging of something that I've been doing a lot of work around for the last 5 years. So you might have heard me talk about the entrepreneurial 9 box, 9 core skills that every entrepreneur needs to really thrive in the evolving workspace. 9 is a hard number for us to retain in today's world of ongoing change, so I've simplified it to be flow, flex, and scale. And in today's call, I want to really use the 9 catalysts because there is so much happening in the world. So, from our landscape, right, we are Potentials Realized, well known for group coaching essentials. This is one of our many almost bi weekly hot topic calls. And I would just say, note that we are not meeting for the next few weeks because I'm going to be out on the East Coast of North America. I'm also going to be working with a team. So we're back in the room on October the 14th looking at strengths, then to neuroscience on the 28th of October, and into November into some creativity and somatic approaches. So please join us live if you can, or catch it up at Effective Group Coaching. Here's the context for today's call on flow, flex, and scale. There is so much happening in the world of entrepreneurship right now. The world of work is radically changing. And as some of you know, when I first started this business, actually, I was teaching as a small business faculty member at a post-secondary institution. I was teaching entrepreneurship. I was actually How I became a group coach was because the dean of the faculty of business asked me to run group sessions for their students. This was 2004. This was not 2020. This was 2004. And really, for many, many years, I was very active in the Toronto area with entrepreneurship. I've been being pulled back into that. And in fact, most of the teams that I'm working with right now are in that small to medium sized business range. They're not corporations. They don't want to be corporations. They are entrepreneurial. So, a couple of headlines just from the last 24 hours, no joke. Yesterday, BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, just launched its first of its kind in Canada $50 million fund to drive business acquisitions by female entrepreneurs. This is significant. This is really, really significant. And there are going to be, I think, really a wave of people who have perhaps been laid off or are willfully transitioning into their own sort of pathway for success. Because here's what was happening south of the border in the US. Yesterday's headline, Own Your Own Income. America's solopreneur business model is booming from Florida to California. And so the US Census data has shown that solopreneurs are actually growing at a really increasing rate. And with all the changes and flux we're seeing in the workspace, we are seeing a lot of people just choosing, hey, I'm going to start my own business. And that's been made possible with the shift this year in the last 6 months to AI. So, as someone who has always worked in the entrepreneurial realm, I am really excited because I know what it's afforded me as a business, as a primarily a solopreneur or a very, very, very small micro business. We're not even a small business in traditional standards, according to the way that is written. But how do we do our best? Because when we are a one-person show or a very small team, it's a little bit different. And so that's what today's call is about. And I want to really bring you in the room. I want to welcome you, Stephanie. Good to have you here. I
Thank
want to get
you.
you sparked. What is sort of, when you think of the words flow, flex, scale, what is the image that's speaking to you today? I want you to just take a minute, grab a pen maybe, sketch it out. If one of these images doesn't speak to you, come up with the metaphor that does. I want you to really think about what does flow, flex, and or scale look like, feel like to you right now. Take a minute and then we'll open the floor for a few comments. All right. So I'm going to keep this brief. If you're watching this, you can keep on writing. I'm curious because, I think sometimes these images draw us in different places. Today, I went to an image I haven't picked before, which was the one in the upper right corner. All these different doorways. And I've been thinking a lot about doorways to business, doorways to sort of programming. Some of you know that this year I've also been doing a much deeper dive into experience design, which really is all about what is the customer journey? What does that look like? How do we experientialize that in terms of embedding processes that maybe are a little bit more creative? And so in the last 72 hours, I've been doing a lot of writing around a couple of case studies. And it's got me to thinking even more deeply around doorways. So as I think about flow, flex, scale, and really, I haven't defined it, but I purposely not defined it because I think for me as a CEO, as a business owner, really as a solopreneur, it is about finding flow. It's about doing what I do best. It's about being agile, which is the flex component. And that's a different doorway, it's a different energy. And then the scale piece of how do I grow beyond myself is a third component of the scale. So I'm going to just offer those as sort of my definition for today. And I'm really going to think about these doorways because as I was driving yesterday to actually from the post office, I was thinking about doorways, not these images, but it's really resonating. So Ivana, I know you're here live. What are you connecting with today?
Hi, Jen. Thank you, and Steph. Nice to see you. I really connected to the top row, second from the left. The waterfalls, the lushness, the flow. Like I really just connected to the flow, and yet the flow continues once it even hits the base. The flexibility of even the water. I really fixated on the water and like, what does that mean in terms of where can I be flexible and where do I to really build that scalability to really expand my footprint?
Yeah.
So that it's left me with an inquiry.
I love it. And that's what I hope these images always do is really leave us with that percolation. And I'll use that term because you've chosen water. Like what is happening at the base? Like, and how does that maybe differ from some of the water that's
Yeah,
constantly coming down stream? Pretty
exactly.
cool. Valerie and Steph, we have you here live. Feel free to put something in the chat if you'd like. I just want to leave an opportunity because here's the thing with coaching, the activation happens when we speak it out sometimes. So just seeing if either one of you want to say anything. What did you choose? Hey, Valerie.
Hi, I also chose the waterfall and just the immediate thought about flow. And I just thought about as it flows, it creates new pathways kind of effortlessly just by movement over time. And then I thought about, when it rains, that it just moves faster. And then, if it's dry, that it moves a little slower. So that's kind of the flex is kind of moving in response to the environment, but it still keeps moving. So.
Love it. Love it. And Steph's put in a different one, the Umbrella Street in Quebec. Creativity is flow and flexibility. Love it. Anything you want to add, Steph, or that's good? Captured your voice.
Yep. So that's that street. If anybody's ever been there and seen the umbrellas all network together above the shops down the street, it just really says a creative. Somebody was so brilliantly creative when they created that. Um, and to me, creativity is flow and flexibility, and I guess scale can come out of that once we connect with our creativity.
Absolutely. And for those of you that have been with me this year, right? Like really one of the meta themes of Potentials Realized has been creativity. We started the year in that Barbados retreat. No one joined me live, but you were there with me virtually. And we talked about sticky factors. We talked about creativity. We talked about how do you create memorability. And Steph, I love that you've taken us to the umbrellas because that in and of itself, even looking at it, creates an experience, right? It speaks to us. It moves us. And that's part of flow, right? It's not a static something. There's an emotional layer to it. And I think as entrepreneurs, we want to be very conscious of what are the emotions we're bringing into our business as well. So, on that note, right, part of what happens is what's naturally happening in our brain. And Ivana and I have just released episode 35 of the Coaching Money podcast. So if you haven't been listening lately, head on over. You can scan the QR codes to see it, listen to it through some of the more popular channels. You can also go to coachingmoneypodcast.com. These were our stats earlier this year, 56 countries and 477 cities. I know our stats continue to change. So we'd love to have you join us, and especially with this topic of neuroscience, which I
Yeah.
would say as a solopreneur and business owner, we've got to work with our brain. We've got to work and ease any friction that really exists because we're our own show. And if we're getting in our own way, that's a bit of a problem. So I want to spend a few minutes just looking at what is flow, flex, and scale. The sort of the fun backstory is this is part of a book that I actually wrote 5 years ago. And I've taken it out in the world of a lot of the Coaching Biz Growth Lab. So, Steph, you've been familiar with the 9 box to entrepreneurship. This is just a simplification of the 9 box because we can't retain, as I said, we can't retain 9 things, but it's really easy to think flow, flex, scale. And so this summer, I've been in the margins of my life working to really update this 2020 manuscript that originally was about digital entrepreneurship to make it a 2025 resource about really what is needed. And what is interesting is we really today more than ever need to be able to get into flow. We want to be able to get into starting with and building from that place of alignment. We want to look at our strengths, our vision, our values. We want to make sure we're connected with who you and we are. We are different than the business, but we're also the business. So there's an interesting dynamic there, especially as the solopreneur. So, in flow, this is an invite for all of us, whether you've done a strengths finder, whether you've done a disc, fall, and today's really the first full day of fall, 2025. It's an excellent reset. Pick up that assessment that you probably did years ago. What does it say about your flow? Maybe you're good at strategy, right? I'm a strategic thinker. I find the details really challenging. And that has always been a problem in this business. So, what do I do? What can I do? How do I leverage different resources? Which, again, why this growth is happening in entrepreneurship right now is because of all the shifts that are happening with AI. That's been a massive, massive pressure. It's not the only pressure, but it's one of many pressures. And so I would invite you, if you've been with me this year also on an AI booster day or not, you can just go to your chat and really think about how can I leverage your resources to help me flow as a business. I think this is a very strategic question to be asking. Notice where your strengths are, but also notice if you've done, like, say, a Clifton Strengths 34, which gives you the whole profile, notice what's at the bottom. Those bottom strengths are going to be very challenging for anyone to grow over time, right? Part of the beauty of Clifton Strengths is it helps us understand what we're really amazing at, where we're a genius. Sadly, there are things that we can't be genius in. So, as a solopreneur, do we grow our team? Do we bring in additional resources? Do we leverage AI? What do we do? And if you're thinking alone, this is where probably you are already using AI as a partnership. Second area, and I want you to be thinking about what's your next step in each of these as we go through them. Flex is about agility. It's about adaptation and change. As we stepped into 2025, I knew it was going to be an exciting year. I had no idea how exciting it would be on so many different levels. And I think back to some of our major program deliveries where some of you have been with us, February for the memorability workshop. Some of you were with me then in our summer mid-year booster. Some of you have been with me in the AI boosters as well. And every time I'm hosting a larger group, there's some new dramatic shift that's going on. And these shifts are impacting small business and solopreneurial businesses more than ever. I would say, and it's pretty generic, but it's generalized here in Canada and around the world, I would say for small businesses, like even bigger businesses like Temu, with some of the changes to tariffs and things like the de minimis law that has been reduced, this has put small businesses really at the edge of their space. So if you are a small business in Canada and you've grown because you're shipping products across the border, all of a sudden, as of just a few weeks ago, no longer could you do that without a fee. And it's literally changing the landscape for businesses overnight. I thought we were at the edge of flex in 2020, but we continue to see flex. So part of capability is growing your muscles around change. And really, it is a place where structure and creativity meets. And I think that's where, for those of you that have been with us, either on these calls, like maybe you're taking the most away from some of those creative exercises. It's also in the flex phase about having a really clear plan, not just the micro plan, but the macro plan. And so it's about productivity. Many of you have been faithful advocates and users of Plan, Do, Track or Coaching Business Builder. I'm excited to announce, and I don't even think Ivana knows this, that I've been working on this. So I've been working with one of our designers, and in the next few weeks, we're going to have a 2026 weekly planner available under the FlowFlex scale. So it's going to be a complement to Plan Do Track. So many of you, since the release of Plan Do Track in 2017, have said, can you do an annual planner? So, yes, we're going to have a digital annual planner that you can download, print, use, and it's going to give you that daily ability to make notes and also the daily ability to look at like integrating what you're using already with Coaching Business Builder or Plan Do Track, but also these components of Flow Flex Scale. Because I have to say, when I look at my agenda, right, and I've been a pretty faithful, I have 21 years of agendas, daily agendas for this business. And I can look back at lots of moments where there are pivotal changes that happen. What is different of 2025 is these pivotal changes are happening quicker and quicker and quicker. So, how do we get better at productivity and planning and execution for our business, as well as remembering that we grow when we're with people? So, most of us have been in a virtual environment for many, many years. Maybe we established as a virtual business, but it doesn't mean that relationships and team aren't important. So, invitation for you to think about what's going to move your edge with Flex this quarter. I will speak more about this 2026 planner when it arrives. I'm working to have it available for next week because next week I head off to this big coaching conference and I'm really excited to be seeing people in person again. So, for those that are out in Halifax, I was last there in 2018, I think, just as Plan Do Track, Coaching Business Builder were coming out in the world. And they invited me to come back to do their keynote and an interactive workshop where we're going to work with the charms, the cards, the dice, and of course, we're going to also think about how do you fit this all in? Because one of the things I continue to hear is, Jen, how do you do it? Right? And part of it is about being just really focused in a way that works for you. We got to go back to flow. My work style is not going to be someone else's work style. The final piece is about scale and how can you scale with impact? Now, scale for every entrepreneur is going to look different. And I want people to think back to those visuals I showed at the start of this call. BDC, Business Development of Canada, Bank of Canada, they're investing a lot into female entrepreneurship who want to do a strategic acquisition. But a strategic acquisition could be, a $200,000 a year business. It could be a $5 million a year business. What does scale mean for you? I work a lot with entrepreneurs who are at all ranges, mid six figures, just getting to six figures, seven and multiple seven figures. Those are the people that I coach as entrepreneurs. And it's interesting as we talk about how does your business reflect you, right? We've got to make it work. If we want to work, we can work it as an entrepreneur. But if we want to have a lot of different things in our life, we can also work it. So one is not better than the other. But with scale, the landscape of scale has also changed. Visibility, marketing. Think about the dramatic changes you've seen in your world. And I want you to have just a moment to think about what's got to shift around your marketing. With so much AI generated quote unquote slop, as it was called earlier this week in a pretty prevalent US based publication, how do you stand out? How do you stand out in that landscape? And so part of it is consistent branding, right? You're going to notice Notice our colors. Notice I brought back the puzzle pieces, right? I hope that when you think about things like potentials realized, you'll think about the puzzle pieces. You'll think about these colors. You'll think about the circles of reconnecting workspaces. Now, what is interesting with scale, and I think all of you on today's call are experts at this, or you've really built that capacity, is program design. Maybe not product design, but program design. What worked yesterday or last year may not work today, but it may mean just a simple tweak. So, invite for you to think about what you're offering in terms of programming. Is it the same format people want? Is there a need for shift? So again, flow, flex, scale in and of itself is a great example. Coaching Biz Growth Lab has run since 2017. Historically, it was a 1-year lab. In 2025, that is too long. People can't commit to a year. And so now I'm rejigging it into the 12-week flow, flex, scale. Every Friday for 12 weeks. We can look at our business in a quarter and move the needle. And that's part of business acumen. How do I pick maybe something different every quarter to work on? So invite for you to think about scale, or maybe it is flex this quarter, or perhaps flow. Whatever you choose, I want you to remember the CBB mantra. Daily steps, consistent action creates momentum. And in an ever-changing world, that is even more important today than before. So for those that are interested, starting this Friday, also the last Friday of October, and probably not the last Friday of November, because many of you will be on holiday that day, first Friday of December, we're going to be launching these 12-week groups. They're going to run. They're going to run. It's going to take you into flow. It's going to take you into flex. It's going to take you into scale. And it's really that container, like we've had throughout the years of Coaching Biz Growth Lab, 45 minutes to dive into your business. What is different is the consistency. It's going to be weekly now. So for those that are interested, head on over Flow Flex Scale. It's over one of our many pages over at groupcoachingessentials.ca. But I hope that you'll consider joining us. If not this month, these are going to have monthly starts because not everyone's ready to jump in and do like that 12-week sprint on their business. So my question to leave you all with today is what's important for your business growth for you at the moment? We still have 3 months left of 2025. I think a lot of people are thinking like, my God, this year was just not what I expected it to be. But here's the thing with entrepreneurial businesses, business can turn on a dime. So what is it that you want to be focusing on consistently to move your business growth forward? Also, maybe what is in your flow zone, right? What is in that space that you're really, really good at? And where might you need to flex? Where might you need to just do a bit of a pivot with some of your offerings? Because I think in the coaching world, at least right now, we're seeing a lot of major shifts like we saw back in 2020. It's not because of virtual, but it's because of other things. So what is the flex piece? And then what do you need to scale? What is important for you to scale? What do you need to support you with that? So Flow Flex Scale as a book will come out, I hope, in Q1 of 2026. Right now, it's in front of a publisher, and I'm looking forward to that feedback because every time I put books out, like I did, I got feedback this weekend on some fiction writing that I was doing. It was in the top sort of 5 books that were written over that time, which gave me really great like confidence. There was very little feedback, which meant it's good. So, with a lot of these, I'm recognizing like every other industry, things are changing. I want to get these books into the hands of publishers so that they can run with them. And it's not just, a small team running at them. I'm also going to be posting, it's not available yet, but hold that link. So this is going to take you to another page on the groupcoachingessentials.ca website. Last week, I did a presentation on AI for better meetings and presentations. One of the areas we can hack and spend less time on is meetings and design. So this is going to be a recording that'll be posted probably later today. It'll be at that website. It's just a 30-minute presentation I did last week for this AI conference, and they graciously sent me the recording today. So I'm going to post that. There's also a downloadable prompt sheet. So for those of you that have been with me in the AI booster days, we spend a lot of time doing prompts. And one of the bonuses for joining us at the 12-week FlowFlex Scale Lab will be a seat at one of the upcoming AI booster days where we do 5 hours of focus on AI. Because we all need it, right? It can take, as I say, as a small business owner, it could take something that took me like 100 hours. I'd get it down to like two, which is crazy. But we still have to have the human behind it. So definitely check this out, the AI for Better Meetings and Presentations prompt. And maybe you'll join me starting this Friday with FlowFlex Scale because we're going to start looking at our DNA. If you want to book a call, and Ivana and I are always around for calls, definitely, book a call. Jen Britton. All right, that is it. What are you leaving the call with today? Are you in flow? Are you flex or scale? And hi, McConaughey, good to see you. Let us know. What are you going to focus on?
Thank you.
All right. And I know you missed some of our call, but you can catch up on the recording. Ivana, you've unmuted. What are you going to look at in this next bit?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not as well acquainted with this yet, even though
Yet, because it's
I'm
newer.
yeah, it's new. And yet I recognize that I've been doing some of the flow work to support the flex that I want to have in my business and in my life for that matter.
Yeah,
So it's, not quite ready to scale yet. It's more in the flex and where's the agility, the flexibility to be able to make that next step.
yeah.
So it's would you say flex is kind of strategic, like you're kind of like regrouping, you're kind of like getting some, you
It
know,
can be. So under and you said flex, right? Not scale.
yeah,
So
flex.
flex, yeah, it's about looking at your productivity and what works well for you. It may be tapping into your relationships. So, who do I have in my network? And
Yeah,
it's also about getting things done, which may also involve other people, right? Like as a
totally.
solopreneur, here's what the historical definition is. There's one business owner, right? There's a business owner. You may activate, subcontractors. You may have like, the planner is being done by Ovi, who's done some really great work for us over the years. He's over in Bangladesh. He comes on. I haven't actually done anything with Ovi for 2 years. So it's just really interesting to think about how do you bring in different people for the project because we can't do it all alone. So hopefully that's useful, Ivana.
Totally. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard of this yet, I should have said this earlier. There should have been a QR code, but that's fine. Substack. So there's a Substack that I've just started earlier this month. I'm posting new monthly calendars. So many of you have been with us at CGBL over the years. We've often, not always, but often had a 1 month calendar of quick prompts, things that you could be doing for 15 minutes a day to move your business forward. And so I brought that back starting in September. They'll be in October, and you can just go over to substack.com and it's Flow Flex Scale. So you can just subscribe there. It's an unpaid subscription right now. I will over time be building out a paid subscription for more resources because as entrepreneurs, we need stuff fast, right? That's what we need. We need it now. So I'd love to hear what else are you taking away? What's going to be your focus going forward? And Steph, I think you said consistency with product creation and visibility. Yeah, and it is that consistency, right? But like product creation, it's a creative process. And so if you get stuck, don't be hard on yourself because the creative process, and I think the book that was once called Drovepreneur, which is now Flow Flex Scale, it had to percolate. It really had to percolate. And it was very frustrating because it was this project always in the back of my mind. But as I picked it up, and I've been picking it up once a year, looking at it going, first it was just a title. And then it was like, I just think it's not quite the right book right now. But now with all the changes, like for those of you that are career coaches, like the amount of people who are being laid off in organizations, what are they doing? They're starting businesses. So, Valerie, anything you want to note?
Oh gosh, whatever space that is like 100% learning and creating, that's where I'm at. So I am learning a lot of new skills, a lot of new systems, a lot of new ways of doing things, and also just creating everything from the ground up. And so I love being there, but it's also very challenging to constantly just be in that space. So I resonated a lot with pulling out my strengths, um, pulling out my strengths finders. I did that a couple of times, and just seeing where I'm at and where I need to maybe get some additional support if needed, but also, remind myself of what my strengths are, because when you're by yourself and you're kind of doing things alone, it's easy to get hard on yourself. And so I think just reminding myself that I can do hard things, and focusing where I'm good is going to be helpful.
Yeah. And again, like you've been building a business from like ground zero, right? And that is hard. And again, we want to think about automation, but some things just have to naturally happen. If I can spotlight you, like Valerie has her own TV show now, right? It's a
I
TV show.
do. I do. I do. It is on grief.tv, and it's navigating chronic illness with heart and hope. And so I release two series episodes every month. And it has been, I used to be a performer, I used to dance eons ago. But to actually get in front of the camera after so many years of being behind, kind of in the background, has been a challenge. It's been so fun. So thank you, Jen.
Well, I think as solopreneurs, we need a spotlight, and that's part of scale. It's about visibility. It's not trying to do it all yourself as well, right? We need advocates, or as one of my clients said, I don't like the word advocates, Jen. It sounds very legal. Can we call our people ambassadors? And I'm like,
Mm,
absolutely. Like, look at that shift. And some of this is just a shift in language. So challenge for you, and this is going to be something that I'll put out later because, I'm not going to speak everything today, but we really need about 100 fans in our businesses, right? As solopreneurs. And so who are those 100 ambassadors? Who are yours? And, how can they help you out by spotlighting? Just as I just said, hey, Valerie has her own TV show. Because, like, I think that's really cool. After 21 years, I've never created a TV show, but you have. And that's where it speaks to our strengths, right? We do what we are naturally good at. And we don't have to do everything. So part of what I hope you'll see is FlowFlex Scale really comes out to be a more accessible resource for everyone. It is about also discernment, right? How do we figure out what's going to work best? So Makone, I know you were with us just for a short call. Feel free to put something in chat, but we are back together for our next call in 3 weeks on the 14th, I believe, 13th or 14th of October. Our topics always change, but if you want to stay connected around FlowFlex Scale, please do. And Substack will be that resource space for you. So as we go to wrap
Thank,
up, Makone,
thank you
yeah,
so
go
much,
ahead.
Jennifer. I'll do that. And sorry, I missed the first part. And from what I hear so far, this is very interesting, especially looking at the business itself,
Yes.
because as I'm listening, I can already draw from the flex, and that's more for where I am now with my business, looking at the planning, putting systems in place, and drawing on my strength as well from time to time. But I've noted what you've also said about consistency.
hmm Yes, because we grow incrementally. So it's good for you to be here, Makona. You can listen back again, head on over to Effective Group Coach as our YouTube channel. This, along with, I also want to spotlight again, Coaching Many podcasts. We just did one on inclusive design. You'll see that up there, and I think that'll be of interest to all of you as well. And our next video coming out, which is now audio podcast, is neuroscience. So hope to see you again soon. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy your FlowFlex skill. It may circle every week. There may be a different focus every day for you. So take care.
Thank
We'll see
you.
you soon. Have a good
Bye.
one. Yeah, bye.